Hi Leo, welcome to your March 2020 reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's dive into this reading, shall we? So your energy coming out prominently as the Knight of Cups. Now, the Knight of Cups energy is very Piscean, right? It's actually a card that represents Pisces. So here we are, Sun entering into Pisces. We're about ankle deep into the season right now. We have a Mercury Retrograde, and we have a new moon in Pisces coming up here like today, actually. So we have all of this Piscean energy of really setting new intentions for ourselves. And yet I think we are still forced to really look at where we're coming from. This Mercury retrograde is really forcing us to see what we are emerging from, right? To look at the ashes from whence we have risen, okay? And for you guys, this is 8th house activity. Pisces season is snuggled up nicely in that very, very deep house of death and transformation, okay? And I know that you are walking through your life. I have to just tell you this. I don't know why I feel this. It just was an image that popped up into my mind as I was pulling out the cards. It's kind of like a king, like an old-fashioned medieval king who has just won a battle, and yet he must walk through the battlefield and count the casualties. You know, and it's almost as though, like, yes, you've won the battle, but there are things that had to go away. There are things that had to go by the wayside. And you're sitting here with grace and elegance as the Knight of Cups, and your environment is one of strength. And it's that strength to continue on and fighting the future battles, fighting the future, whatever is coming at you, whatever is coming towards you. And this is the card of Leo, right? The strength. It's the card of Leo. We have the presence of the lion. We have that majesty that comes through, that just kind of exudes through the lion energy. And we have the connection with the divinity, as is indicated with the infinite sign here. So in so many ways, I know that what has been happening has been divinely inspired. What has happened, all of the failures, especially in relationships. Now, we have an interesting thing going on with relationships in March. We have the day the sun enters into Aries, we have Saturn entering into Aquarius, which is your 7th house. You guys have been hit so hard with 6th house activity, which is all about perfecting oneself, getting our minds, our hearts, and our spirits and our bodies all working synchronistically. Okay, it's kind of the consolidation of Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo all wrapped up together. That's what Virgo is really all about, tying everything and fixing any of the loose ends so that we can move forward into relationships consciously and helpfully. So Saturn moves into the 7th house, and we have this opportunity to either take current healthy relationships to far beyond where we ever thought we could go, or people who are in really difficult and rocky relationships are probably going to struggle during that time. So it's, the strength card is really about clearing things out, using that Saturnian scythe to really make it very black or white, very yes or no. This stays, this goes. This is acceptable, this is not. Now, I think you're going to be confronted with a lot of things through March. I'm seeing the Knight of Swords coming right at you, and he's got something to say, and I say he, but it could be a she as well. It could be a friend, a past lover. It could be someone new coming into your life who's trying to love bomb you or something. And it's so much that I think it actually scares you. You're like, oh my God, this is so much. This is crazy. Who is this person? And why are they doing this? Why are they saying this? And your Knight of Cups energy is going to have to just kind of absorb what's happening, observe what's happening, and make a decision. Does this stay or does this go? Because you've been working so hard, not only in your careers, not only with your financial situation, but also on yourself. And you have to start giving yourself credit for how far you have come to making yourself a full and complete person. Because I think what's happening is Pisces season is bringing out people's fragmentation. It's bringing out people's points of desperation. It's bringing out people's insecurities, and people want to do their bragging and all of this. And you're just like, oh, damn, like this is not my scene at all. And that's what I mean by like a king walking through a battlefield and having to count the casualties, because boom, here's one. Here's one that you have to count and move swiftly away from. 8 of Wands. I think you are very much headed in the opposite direction of this Knight of Swords. This Knight of Swords wants something so different than you. And that's okay. And you have to just be able to say your piece and to move on. The problem with the Knight of Cups energy is that they can be too nice and not direct enough. So it's going to be in your best interest to be very clear in your communication. And we get the Queen of Swords down here, and I think that's a reminder for you to be like very concise. This is not a good time for Leo to be on the fence with stuff. It's not a good time for y'all to be, hemming and hawing and like making people think they might have a chance, but you got to think of, no, like it's either a yes or a no. And you got to cut those ties sooner rather than later, because you're on a trajectory. That's what the 8 of Wands is always about. It's about a trajectory. And if you hem and haw, then you might go backwards. All right. And that's not what we are really trying to go for here. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. 2020 is about setting precedents for yourself for the next decade. So you have to consciously ask yourself on a decision by decision basis, especially when it's concerning someone else, what precedent do you want to set? What are the rules that you are creating for doing business with you or for being in your life at this point? Because the tendency to be kind, the tendency to be open-minded, to be open-hearted, and to mistake having compassion, which you can have compassion for this Knight of Swords, but you don't want to mistake having compassion for like letting someone do something that they really shouldn't be doing. And I think the approach with this Knight of Swords, it's just much too aggressive in this instance. It's not really the best way, and it's very triggering, and I think you might get triggered by someone or something, okay? So it's best to just take a step back and to make sure that you ask yourself if this is really right for you or not, okay? Because truly, this Knight of Swords isn't really offering that much anyway. What are they offering you? They may say, I love you, or I really need you to be a part of my team. Now, I'm just going to say this because I've been realizing that, I originally intended for this to really connect with the Leo energy as the first card coming out. But I'm realizing that a lot of cross watchers may relate a lot more to this. And these kinds of energies could be your Leo as well. It just depends on really where they fall on the spectrum. So, whoever this Knight of Swords is definitely going to be all talk and no bite at all, right? There's going to be absolutely no substance to what they're really offering you. These are people that could ask you questions like, well, don't you want to start a family? And don't you want this? And don't you want money? And don't you want a good job? And don't you want... And you're like, well, yeah, but are you putting a ring on my finger or what? Like, what are we doing? Like, you can't just talk about this stuff and not put your money where your mouth is. And I think that's what's going to really annoy you the most, is how people are all talk this month, because you have learned, okay, right? 6th house, you've been pushed into this state of wholeness. And with wholeness comes maturity, and it comes an ability to see other people's, we know 6th house is naturally ruled by Virgo, and we know that Virgo can be very judgmental of others, but that's because they're so hypercritical of themselves. But when you hold yourself to exceptionally high standards and you abide by those standards, you then see how other people could do the same, and they're choosing not to, which gets really irritating really fast. And I think that's what this is like, man, like, Stop begging, get up off your knees, like you look ridiculous, have some dignity. And I think that's what's going on here. So it could be a lover, a past lover. It could be someone who wants you to work for them, or, be careful, especially if this is a job thing. Be really careful about how much they are trying to get you, because there might be a reason why they're so desperate. You know what I mean? So just be careful. Desperation is not a good color on anybody, and no matter what the circumstance is, it's best to just keep your hands clean of that kind of stuff. And I know that you're here trying to walk away. This card actually is why I was talking about that king walking through the battlefield and counting the casualties, because I do sense that there's a hyper awareness of what's lost. It's Pisces season. This is all about giving up, right? Pisces is the archetype. They say it's like the house of madness, or it's the house of delusion. It's the house of loss, right? There's so much there with that archetype, but it's because we are so intrinsically connected to our part in the macrocosm and the microcosms that exist during this time, that a lot of things that we thought mattered simply disappear right in front of us. And all of a sudden, all these things that mattered to us don't. And it can be so confusing and disorienting. And it's going to happen for everybody on some level. Might not be huge, but on some little level, everyone is going to be questioning their life. That's what Neptune does. And for you guys, Sun entering into the 8th house, connecting with Neptune, there will be existential questions. Did I really make the right decision? Is this really what I'm doing with my life? Am I on the right track? What am I even doing this for? Will people enjoy it? Like, all these kinds of questions come out during a Sun-Neptune conjunction. And when you have those brief moments during the month, just keep going, right? That's why clarity is so important. That's why having the strength to have those conversations with yourself about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable is that much more important, because you're setting precedents. Now, when you start walking away and you start moving on, there's going to be someone that, boom, is right there. And still with this guy, I still feel, as much as I love a Knight of Wands, and I'd like a Knight of Swords sometimes, depending on how he manifests. He can go either way. But a Knight of Wands usually is a very likable person. It's very fun, outgoing, energetic, brings a lot to the table, tons of value. There's probably a very real connection with the fire. This could be a Sagittarius, could also be another Leo or an Aries. So there's that fiery connection that might be there. But even still, this could be yet another thing to ask yourself, is this really for me? And your answers to those questions are going to be reflective of how far you've really come. Because I suspect the Knight of Swords could be neither here nor there. But I think the Knight of Wands is someone that you really wanted in your life somehow. You really wanted to be friends with that person. You really wanted to be in a relationship with them. You really wanted to work for that company. And it didn't work out. And you have to kind of ask yourself, did it not work out for my greater good? And that's a hard question, because how are we to ever know? And this is when faith and courage come in so strong. Was it for my greater good? And this is the hard part. This is what's so hard about counting the casualties, because there will be some soldiers on that battlefield that you really, really didn't want to lose. And yet here we stand. But are you better for it? Probably. And so here you are, having to be honest, having to be direct, and yet there are so many questions It's really important that you understand that as the sun reaches the 18th degree of Pisces, all right, so it's kind of like beginning to middle of March, that week, you're going to feel the buildup of sun connecting with Neptune. And that week can be real intense. It's the 8th house, guys. It's going to feel intense. There's going to be a lot of stuff that happens internally. And you're going to feel those stirrings in your soul. And there will be a lot of questions. And those questions probably, they might keep you up at night. And then as the sun comes off of Neptune and then enters into Aries, we're going to have a conjunction with Chiron, which again is going to bring out some pain in you. For you, this is 9th house though. So this is going to give you clarity and it's going to help you to see the big picture. But when you're in the Pisces season, it all just gets real hazy. So you have to have the strength to carry through the haze, right? To walk through that battlefield and to just keep your head down and just do the counting and just like make sure, you know, that you know where you're at. Take stock. I think the mundane things, because as we make our way into a full moon in Virgo, which for you is 2nd house activity, the mundane things are what is going to make all this stuff a lot more easy to swallow, a lot less dramatic. If you just do your emails, do your phone calls, do your meetings, pick your kids up, take them here, do this, do that, do your laundry, do your dishes, all that Virgo kind of stuff, that is the saving grace. And it's going to make the whole month way more easy to really to swallow. So focus on that. And if there's ever any question of what you deserve, because I think that's a big part of the 9 of Swords, is like, boom, here's this Knight of Wands who is something that you may have thought was completely off the table anyway, or it wasn't an option for you, or maybe it's not even a person, maybe it's just some kind of a dream that you had that you really wanted to pursue, and now here comes the opportunity and you're like, I wanted it so bad, but is it for me? And that question of like, did I make the right decision? Oh my God, I don't know. Is it for me? Am I losing out? And it's going to go around and around. And it's about just taking it slow. You will have the answers, just not right now. You have to have patience. That's why your environment is strength. And that's one of the blessings of being a fixed sign, is you are more capable of being patient than most, especially more than cardinal energies, okay? Now, the reason is because the question of, is it really gone? Is it really not meant to be a part of my life? Is it really past? Has the time really passed? Unfortunately, I think the answer is yes. We'll get more information with the clarifiers for the comprehensive, but I think short answer is yes. So the best tactic, I guess now, is to really just focus on tomorrow. Just take it one day at a time. Because there's that battle between what you want and what you know is for you. And more importantly, you know what is not for you. And to know that you did win the battle. There were just some losses along the way, but you won the battle. Okay, let's go ahead and put this camera down and we will start pulling out the clarifiers. See you in just a sec. Okay, Leo, let's go ahead and start by using an astrology card to help clarify some of this energy. Let's see here. Oh, and there you are, Leo. Boom, 2 lions. This is your Leo sweet spot right here. It's the confidence to know what's for you, the confidence to communicate it, the confidence to ask for what you want, and the confidence to walk away from the things that are not for you. That's what happens when not even just a Leo, but a person becomes fully contained and self-possessed. You know, when they become complete, which is what the 6th house is all about. You guys, can we just for a second, there is so much Capricorn energy. It's like not even funny. Your 6th house just like got slammed. Okay, giving you a break. But as we make our way with Saturn in the 7th, and then Mars will follow, there will be a lot of emphasis on relationships, okay? A deep knowing. See, and that's the whole thing with the 8 of Cups going straight into the Knight of Wands, is you know that battle had to happen. You know those casualties had to occur. You knew the risk, you know, and you knew that there were people that you know, right? You know in your heart of hearts, there were just people that as much as you wanted them, or a thing or a goal, as much as you wanted it, maybe it really just wasn't for you. And you might not consciously know that, right? We have a couple of like moon energies coming out here. It may have been buried very deep in your subconscious, coming from a place very far behind the veil. And yet, when you know, you know. And I think that's the hardest part for most of us, is just admitting to us when we know, okay? So the cards I'm about to pull out now will be covered in the comprehensive reading. If you want to join me, the link will be in the description box down below. We'll usually talk for about 20 to 25 minutes about these cards. So let's go ahead and see what they are, shall we? Knight of Cups, see? Man, you're really coming from just such an amazing place. Oh my God. I hope you see what you are. I really do. There's nothing worse than a Leo with no confidence. I mean, because there's no reason for it, right? Ever. Yeah, see, I do not like this Knight of Swords. I do not like them. Don't believe them. And it's going to be obvious to you. That's the whole thing. It's going to be obvious because you've probably been in, you know, it's not your first time at the rodeo. It's a repeat. It's a do-over of things. And I think y'all just really don't vibe well with that. Yeah, see, totally different directions. Completely. They're going left. You are going right. Let's do one more for that guy. Or girl. Yeah, okay. Do we need to really even talk about that? All right, let's look at this 8 of Wands. The shaky confidence, another card of Leo. A lot of Leo being represented here. Where's the confidence? Y'all, I mean, oh my God, it's Pisces season. I don't think anyone really has confidence this month. Confidence is going to be hard to come by. Or it's going to be like so full of self-delusion and overcompensation, you know? So if you're feeling a little bit shaky in yourself, it's really okay. See, I knew that night, you guys, that Knight of Wands, don't be tricked. 7 of Swords, do not be fooled. It's a casualty, okay? You have to let them go. A casualty of progress. I know what they meant, you know? Yeah. 8 of Cups. Your calling is higher than what's in front of you. Keep that in mind. Your calling is higher than what's in front of you. Let's look at this Knight of Wands. Yeah, no. One more for the Knight of Wands, because I think that's going to be the really hard thing, you know. Queen of Swords. Nine of Swords. Okay, Death reversed. Oh, Death reversed twice. King of Wands. That's you. Coins reversed. Let's look at the Strength card. Oh, and there you are again. King of Swords reversed. I don't know. Okay, well, let's go ahead and... yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and stop right there. If you guys want to join me for the comprehensive, again, that link is in the description box down below. Thank you guys so much for everything. Wish you nothing but the best. Have a good Pisces season. Take care.